Welcome to the day I got a fork stuck in my mouth. Yeah, I know it sounds silly, but it's true. Here is a picture to prove I'm not lying. So this is gonna be the story of my fork incident. It was a typical British day in April 2015. The birds were tweeting and sun was out and it was dry day. I had dropped off my oldest daughter at school and on way back stopped off for a cup of rose-leah tea at my sister-in-law house. My youngest daughter was playing with her baby cousin and they were having fun. We had left my boyfriend, and who is also my girl's dad, at home. He rang me when he woke up and decided to pop around to his sister to join us. When he got there he had a coffee and started to fall asleep on sofa as he was tired. Time was ticking, so I decided to take our daughter back home to get her ready for nursery as she has to a school uniform and have some lunch. Her dad decided to stay a bit longer at his sister's. So me and my daughter left to go home. Me and my daughter got home. I put on the TV for her and she wanted to watch cartoons. I went into the kitchen where I started to do normal housework, the washing up and the laundry. I then suddenly thought, I know I get pasta bake I did night before out of oven as I still had some left. I asked my daughter if she liked some for lunch. She said yes, so I got the pasta bake out the oven and put it on top of cooker. Ready to dish up. I was feeling hungry, so I decided to get a fork out of drawer and try some. I took the first mouthful and the fork was stuck in my mouth. I had to pick out bit of pasta bake with my fingers which I was heaving. I was drooling everywhere as I was finding it hard to swallow, and by now I was drooling over the sink, and so I grabbed a tea towel to hold under my mouth and I tried to wiggle and pull it out, but it was stuck. So I went to front room mirror and tried to see what was happening. My daughter noticed and was asking me what happened, but I could not speak. All I could say was ugh. I tried to yank the fork out of my mouth using both my hands, but still it was bloody stuck. My daughter would not come near me and started to cry. I quickly got my phone and texted my boyfriend who was at his sister's, and then I thought he may be asleep, so I forwarded text. I texted him to his sister. He rang me and all I could do was say ugh while trying to make sound of words. The door knocked and it was my boyfriend. The look on his face when I opened door was shocked and surprised, while also laughing. Our daughter gave him a hug as she was crying and scared. We all sat on sofa and he had look and tried to pull fork out, but it was not even moving. He then called an ambulance and even the lady on other end of phone could not believe what my boyfriend was saying. As ambulance was taking too long as it was about half an hour, he then panicked and went to our neighbor's house as she was a nurse. She came back with him and had same look on her face as my boyfriend, shocked and surprised and laughing. She had a look and then asked if we got ice lolly as my tongue is swollen into groves of fork and started change color. So he got a milk lolly and tried to put it in my mouth, which was very weird. So not only did I have fork stuck in my mouth, but also a cold ice lolly in my mouth too. I felt cold and my teeth and tongue were aching so much. By now the neighbor had left and my boyfriend was FaceTiming everyone, his sisters and my sister, which they were all laughing and shocked. By this time I was on my second tea towel of drool. After about 2 hours the ambulance finally come. He walked into my house and again I saw the same look, surprised and shocked. He put down his medical equipment on floor next to me on sofa. He then bent down and looked at me while putting his plastic gloves on. He tried to move the fork gently and then he said, well, that is stuck. You are going to feel like you're drowning, but you're not, and you're not going to die. You just need to keep calm and still breath. You're going to have to come to hospital. I tried to speak with sounds of words saying ugh. He asked my boyfriend for my date of birth etc, which he had my sister on FaceTime, so she spoke to ambulance man and told him all what he needed to know etc. I grabbed my bag and coat and changed to a third tea towel. I said goodbye my boyfriend, he gave me a kiss on cheek and my little girl was still upset and gave her hug. My boyfriend was carrying her and she was waving at me when I went down the stairs. The ambulance man said, we going in a little ambulance as we want me to ride in big ambulance in case of bumps etc. I need smooth ride, so I am going drive slow and steady. I made the sound again ugh. I felt in shock and my mouth was just aching as staying open all this time, plus my teeth and tongue were hurting, as it was hours by now. On journey to Mayday Hospital in Croydon, the ambulance man was telling me that he's heard of someone getting a fork stuck on side of their mouth, has tried getting food out using a fork but never on top of tongue and wedged between teeth. When we got to hospital I was still holding tea towel under my chin as I was still drooling. I stepped out of the ambulance and felt sick. I somehow threw up a bit of acid sick just outside. So now I had nasty taste of sick too. I have never felt so embarrassed. I got into accident and emergency and I sat upright on the bed. A nurse said hello and took my blood pressure and checked my mouth. She also had same look of shock and surprised. Then the ambulance man said goodbye and good luck. I tried to say again thank you but as chug. Then doctor and nurse came in and induced themselves. They had a look and tried to ask me how it happened. I said again chug as I could not speak. They both same look on faces to shock and surprised. Then different nurses and doctors kept coming in to look as they were all in shock. One of doctors said to me, I am sorry we keep on coming to look but we never had a case like this and we are just trying to figure out what to do. There was group of about 7 nurses and doctors around the bed looking at me and trying to gently pull on fork while taking it in turns while saying sorry if it hurts each with their shocked and surprised faces. After the nurses and doctors kept going and coming back, I think I had about 12 different nurses and doctors look around the bed and looking me with fork in my mouth and tea towel under my chin. In the end a doctor said the fork is wedged between my molar teeth and swelling in groves of fork. We are going to try to remove the fork with a surgical clip and pull on it. If this doesn't work we are going to have to surgically remove your 2 molar teeth. I was by now feeling scared and alone and still in bloody pain and kept thinking I am never going to get this fork out. Well, the doctors and nurses come back in with surgical clip and clipped into one side of my mouth and with a really big pull on fork she pulled and finally with a few more tugs and pulls and wiggles she had got the fork out of my mouth. I first swallowed and moved my aching sore jaw and felt so relieved. I then said thank you all so much. I had a drink of water and went to sink to rinse out my mouth. When I got back to the cubicle the doctor asked how are you? I said I feel fine, just a bit in pain. So doctor gave me some painkillers. Doctor then asked is it okay if we could do a case study on you, and this accident has never happened before and no one has ever got a fork stuck in their mouth, and then next time if someone does it they will know what to do and we can keep your name anonymous if you want. I agreed and said you can use my name if you want to. Doctor said thanks and that I am discharged and free to go. As I was getting my stuff ready to leave cubicle the nurse turned and said to me don't I want to keep fork as the fork was laying all bent on the bed. I said no, I am off eating with forks now. I got out of hospital and was dazzled and still in shock, and while walking to tram stop I rang my boyfriend and said I am out of hospital and fork is out and I can talk again. I explained about all nurses and doctors etc and how they got fork out, and asked about our daughter. He said she fine playing with her cousin and he around his sisters. I rang my sister and she come all way from Maidstone with her daughter in a panic and also told her what happened at hospital. We agreed to meet at my sister-in-law's as she was on train. I also rang my mum and my other sister to tell them I am okay. My other sister made a joke and said I can't fucking believe it. Somehow I still got back in time to my sister-in-law's and met my family and had a cup of tea and looked in mirror. I had the print marks of fork on my tongue which was still swollen. I still went to school to pick up my oldest daughter. My oldest daughter could not believe it too until I showed the marks on my tongue, and later when we got home she saw camera video on security cameras of me trying to yank fork out of my mouth. She gave me a really big hug. A few days later I went to dentist and explained about fork accident story and he did X-ray and checked my teeth. He could not believe that I had no marks on my teeth and no broken teeth. I also went out and brought loads of spoons as for months I was eating roast dinner, spaghetti bolognese, etc using only a spoon. Everybody thought it was funny seeing me trying eat a roast dinner with a spoon. Months after I never ate with a fork as I kept having flashbacks. I was also scared of my daughters eating with forks. Every time I get flashback I also get pain in my teeth even till this day. Everyone kept making jokes about forks and saying I am greedy pig trying eat fork as well as food. Also saying I need a spork, a spoon with tips as fork, and joking that I could go on a embarrassing accidents program on TV, which I never did. After about 4-5 months I went for dinner at my sister-in-law's and she gave me a fork, and without thinking I started to eat with fork and then suddenly realized what I was eating with. No one could believe it. Sorry for the amount of times I wrote shocked and surprised but could not think of any other words to explain all people's faces. Also sorry for any spelling mistakes. This is my most embracing, shocked, accidental adventure of my life, and all I can think is fork's sake every time I tell this true story. Hope you find this story interesting and funny. That's the end of my fork story. Hope you enjoyed. Also credit to my daughter for making this video. Make sure to go subscribe to her. Goodbye.